Hey, so we're here with George A. Johnson, legend and drummer and composer and writer and lyricist and you name it, producer. George, really, really great to have this talk to you and to be able to work with you on the documentary to honor your life.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. I'm humbled and I'm really blessed that someone cares that much about me. I appreciate that. I really do.
Absolutely. So, we have been friends now for a good 15, 18 years or something.
That's right.
And friends, colleagues, partners, most of all friends.
That's right.
And for me personally, to follow your career and your life has always been magic because you played with the people that when I grew up in Germany, they were my gods,
Wow.
Stanley
Me too.
Clark and Chick Corea and, McCoy, Tyner, nobody's finer, all of this. So when we met, and I'm like, what, you played with these guys at the Montreux Jazz Festival, touring the world, you name it. For me, you've always been an absolute superstar to have been playing with these people. And as we're making this doco, uh, I wanted to ask you, how did it all start for you? Please tell us a little bit about your, because you're a third generation drummer. So
That's
please
right.
tell us a little bit about your first two generation drummers.
Well, I appreciate that. It all starts with the Sunday dinners that have been forgotten, but that's when all the families got together. And we go over one of my grandparents, my father's side of the family, and my grandfather had a set of marimbas set up and a set of drums. And every Sunday we went over there, I would watch and they would play, and I would watch and they would play. And it was just an intriguing thing. I guess as a really young person without anything formative, things you look up to grandfather and father and see how they really interacted. And it was a different kind of love that I didn't know about. And it really seemed intriguing and it kind of pulled me in. And not only Sunday dinners at my grandparents on my father's side, it was when we, listened to music at home on Sunday, big bands and music in general was all around. Because my mom sang and she was a mezzo soprano. It's very high. So she sang a lot in the churches and she would sing, the cantatas and she would sing all the high parts. And it was really impressive. So at that point, for me, it was just a thing to do. And I was just like in awe. So I started setting up cardboard boxes in the basement and I was playing them, playing them like they were drum set, banging on the boxes. The boxes make different little tones. I playing on the boxes. And my father then found out. So it was like a funny thing. So he started giving me lessons, the rudiments and all of that. And it was very intense turning point for me as a young person because then I could identify with something and I kind of like really took to it. And those Sundays were really monumental because it was the type of thing where it was not only at the time a family thing, but it was a spiritual thing also, I felt. And I didn't know whether it was like a thing where you say it was passed down or what. I just really enjoyed it. I really felt warm when I played the drums. So I took lessons and stuff, and really took to it. So I got my first drum set. And the first thing I learned was snare drum. Okay, snare drum. So what happened was my parents started a drum and bugle corps. And we marched and marched and marched. And there's pictures, man, and I'm going to tell you, my father and grandfather came up marching. So one time, I think I was Cub Scouts or something like that. They strapped a drum on me. Okay, and here I am with my dad on the right side in a Boy Scout uniform, military type uniform, and here I am, my little Cub Scout uniform, and here I am dragging that one leg playing the snare drum. I did not really realize, because I was in awe. I was playing with the grown-ups. I didn't know that would be a thing in the future. Playing with the grown-ups. Couldn't let my dad down. Couldn't let my grandfather down. Here's everybody on the parade route. Okay, here I am, and I didn't realize that the metal would be digging in my leg, but I said, I'm a man up on this thing. And it started hurting halfway through. So I didn't say anything, but then I built up a callus, and then there was a pad put on and all of that. So we were marching and marching and marching and marching. And one day I said, Dad, like, how far are we marching? He laughed. He said, well, about 5, 10 miles. I said, oh my God, no wonder. So I kind of like built up endurance through that. And I didn't really realize it. Out in the hot sun in the summertime, sometimes you have to stop. You're still playing. All that stuff, And, we never stopped. Wasn't, I don't know what the other bands do, but we never stopped with the drum and bugle corps. So it was
So
like,
what was your very, very first gig? The very first gig where you were like either with this band you just described or any band, anything, where you kind of were performing.
well, that was a funny situation. That was really funny. Okay, so this guy named Gil Gil Lewis, and he knew my dad, and they were going to play at this place, and I forget where. I think it was a small club. Okay, small club. So my dad takes me because at the time I couldn't play a place with alcohol because these guys were older than me. They were late 20s, 30s. I was like 12, I think. So here we are. So my father on the way down, he goes, look, I know you've been practicing. I know you've been playing all the records with your set and everything. He says, but if you get here and you don't like it, you don't have to do it. Okay, you can learn something else. Number one is smoky. Number two, it's always going to be dirty. And number three, I'm not sure, but you better not take a drink or I'm going to kick your butt. It'll be a long time because the age was 21. So 12, it was a long time. So we finally get there. And I'm going to tell you, it was one of the coldest days, I think, on the East Coast. They had this great big thing called the jet heater. And the flame comes out about 2 feet long, but it warms the whole place. So we're playing, it was an organ trio. And Ronnie Greer, God rest his soul, he died. We were playing. Man, I had the time of my life. I loved it. And I know my dad liked it. And so we go back in the car. He said, well, what do you think, son? What do you think? I said, wow, I really like it. I mean, I really enjoyed it. So the thing of it was, we had a thing in Atlantic City, okay? In Atlantic City, on Kentucky Avenue, there was a club called Club Harlem, okay? They had a showroom, a big band in the back, and then they had 2 stages in the front with organ trios. I was lucky enough to be in the Johnny Lynch's big band in the back, and I was in Melvin Richards' trio in the front. So I was out there playing like almost 12, 14 hours. Oh, God, it was fantastic.
Yeah, awesome. How old were you then?
I was about 12, 13.
Still was 12. It was fantastic.
It was something else again. And then we would spend the whole summer there. You get a lot of experience there. And I told you about, we played music on Sunday. We played the big band music. And my mom really loved Billy Eckstine. Man, I'm going to tell you, when we read the thing of who the stars were coming in for the back room, Billy Eckstine was coming in, the Billy Eckstine Big Band. Do you know, I felt blessed, not only because, my mom wanted to come to the show. Everybody else was off that week except me. When Billy's music director came in and heard the band, he let me play. He said, I want the young dude to stay. He'll play drums with the rest of my band. And he put the charts out. God, it was fantastic. I have a picture of the music director and Billy Eckstein and myself. And man, it was like thrilling for my mom. And that was like part of what really got me going. See, because you have to understand, I wasn't driving my own car yet. So every place I went to play, all those kind of gigs, my father had to be with me. The Window Garden down the street, and I played with phenomenal organ players, the Melvin Richards and everybody. So I was really had a lot of experience with the quartet with the bass and the piano, and had a lot of experience with the organ. And from that point, I was like working around, and then I finally got my driver's license. In high school, in junior high, I was the drum major. I really enjoyed that. I was the drum major. Then high school, I was in the marching band, which was easy, but I also was playing with all of the high school music teachers. I'm blessed to be on that level. So it was really a rewarding situation. And then what really, two things really iced the cake, okay, for my actual turn and focus 100% or 200% on the music in general. Number one was my brother and I were in the Philadelphia Civic Concert Band. This was a union band with all men that had played with Duke Ellington, Count Basie, Woody Shaw, big band, all the major big bands that were hiring guys, and guys used to be there for life. All these guys were in the band, and it was a phenomenal band. It was led by an Army a lieutenant, I think it was, Mr. James Ike Covington. My brother and I took a picture with him and his wife. We used to stay over the house. He gave me a lot of orchestra lessons, orchestral. It didn't sink in at the time, but I have all of the manuscript, all the stuff that he wrote down, and I studied later in my career when I really could absorb the whole thing. And this is a turning point because those type of gigs really gave me the confidence, because in Philly, don't get me wrong, they talk a lot. In Camden, Philly, they talk a lot in the club. Okay, you don't really know. About you being good or you being accepted. They have other issues going on, and it's such a rough area. You don't want to say, "Hey, quiet down, quiet." Something could happen bad to you, so we'll go right past that. So nobody really applauded. They didn't give you validation. This was validation that I could actually play with these different people. Jazz, concert band, marching band, and it must be some kind of, I must be kind of strong in this. And the thing that really iced the cake and helped my whole stepping career from mediocre to professional. One day at this place is called Edna's Orbit Room. I went to go sit in, and there was a guy there, his wife, and he was in the Army at the time. His name was George Washington Jr. So we were playing, we really got along, and the organ player said, yeah, we're going to let George Washington sit in. See, because when you're in the Army, you're not allowed to play outside of the Army professionally with a name, so he changed his name. So I didn't. I know one guy from another. There's a whole bunch of musicians. Man, he could really play. He played baritone. That's a weird dude. Baritone, tenor, alto, soprano, flute. Oh man, he was really slamming. So we played. I passed out my car, went home. You know what I mean? So my mom told me that some guy called up. I said, yeah, who is it? You know, one of them little cheap gigs and stuff. He said, no, some guy, he said he played with you in Camden. I said, I played a lot of guys in Camden. He said, his name is Grover Washington Jr. I said, I ain't never played with nobody in Camden, Grover Washington Jr. So I didn't call him. So he called back again. He told my mom, he said, I called before, and when we met, my name was George Washington because I was in the Army. I'm not in the Army anymore, and my name is Grover Washington Jr. I said, oh yeah, that dude can really play, Mom. He played all the instruments. So my dad took me over there. He said, I just recorded a CD because I won't tell you the musician's name, but he got locked up down in Texas and drinking too much and got locked up. He couldn't make the recording date with CTI. So when I got to the recording studio, Rudy Van Gelder's studio, they said, Grover, what you call is locked up. Would you want to do this record date? So I did the record date. Now I need a band to go on the road. And that was the start. It was myself, Grover, Charles Fambro, Bill Meeks. And I do have a picture of that. It was the turning point of my career. So we traveled with Grover, I don't know, all over the United States. It was fantastic. I got the lessons of my life. I got to play everything I practiced and more. See, when you're playing every night, you have to play different solos. And he played stuff on the baritone, he played stuff on the tenor, he played stuff on the soprano, he played stuff on the alto, the flute. In the beginning, we played mostly all jazz and stuff, but when he really came into being popular, we played more of the first album, the Inner City Blues, Ain't No Sunshine, and all of that, and it was phenomenal. It was phenomenal on that level because guys who were playing and really dedicated, it seems like I was blessed to be chosen around all people who had that phenomenal talent. And I felt that I had to really stay sharp to hang. And it's odd because that period of time, I played so long, people started to notice. So at that period of time, I think it was somebody else changed gigs, and a friend of mine, Clifford Adams, I'll never forget, gave me a call, and he said to me, Charles Earland, the drummer, just left. Charles Earland's going to do the Montreux Festival, and he needs a drummer. And Charles is from Philly, and I told him about you and the way you play. And he wants the next drummer to have more fire than the last one. So we went up to Englewood, New Jersey, and rehearsed. It was kind of like an audition rehearsal because they had to buy the plane tickets and stuff in a couple of days, and they had to let everybody know who was coming. So we really had a great gig, but that Charles Earland was really high intensity. See, all my gigs, thank God, were high intensity gigs, high intensity. Grover was high intensity, Charles was high intensity. And there's a song, we'll find it, I think it is, it's Joe Brown, Man. And I never forget, he did a funny thing at the Montreux Festival. He tells everybody that we're going to do a sound check, which we already did a sound check. Did a sound check. This cat blew him away with the song. We just mashed. And it's when you hear it, you hear it's on a very high level. I feel very blessed to have those things make my career. And it could have been bad so far as I do a lot of gigs in the beginning and turn me off. But they were things to lead me to have the confidence to go farther.
First off, I wanted to ask you about Jimmy Garrison and how you met him.
Oh, yeah, Jimmy. I met him with a friend, Henry Carnes, at Amherst College in Massachusetts. We were doing some gigs and stuff, and he said, well, man, I know Jimmy Garrison, and he's going to be on the gig at my recital. So I said, man, that's fantastic. So we all went there, and we met, and Jimmy and I really hit it off. So it was a long relationship, and I hung out with him for a while, and went over his house and stuff and hung out. And that was one of the people, and I'll get into it later, who really mentored me and embraced my whole concept of me coming to be a jazz musician professionally. With meeting him, we started talking about, of course, the John Coltrane Quartet. And he said that, would you like to go down to Frank's drum shop and meet Elvin? I said, oh, yeah, fantastic, yeah. So we went down there to Frank's and met Elvin. It was one of the greatest days of my life, of course, because I listened to Elvin so long with the quartet. The cohesion and solos and stuff was fantastic. So we met, and I wanted to get a set of drums, a professional set of drums, and that's what they did there. They sold drums, and Elvin was also giving lessons. So he asked me what I liked, and I said a blonde set like yours, of course. So he picked a set out for me. It was fantastic. The difference in this set of the other drums I had, it was coated with lead on the inside. What that does is that gives it extra projection. That's why his drums sounded the way they did. And it was so much thunder when he needed thunder, and really sensitive when he needed sensitive. So that's what I was shooting for, to be on that professional level. So I was really blessed to meet Jimmy Garrison, and I was also blessed to meet Elvin.
So what are who are some other bass players that we would know that you've played with?
Of course, Jimmy Garrison first, and there was Jimmy Merritt, the bass player that played with Lee Morgan, and then there was Milt Hinton, who everybody knows was great. Another guy that was really great and phenomenal, Major Harris, which played the bass, and also he slapped the side and he slapped the strings. So when he took his bass solo, it sounded like a drum solo, because he would play some stuff on the strings, bang the side of the bass strings, and then bang the strings. It was very creative. But then again, we're in New York, where everybody comes with a unique professional talent. And then there was a friend of mine, really close friend of mine, Charles Fambro. Charles and I started off with Grover Washington Jr., and we played a long time, and then we really got close. I mean, sharing the hotel room. One would have box spring, one would have a mattress. We were trying to make it, and these are the sacrifices that we made. But we played with Grover for a long time, and then after Charles left, I was the music director. And then we played with McCoy, Tyner together, and then we played with Abdullah, Ibrahim together. So, and that Philly connection is really, really strong.
Good evening. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome home. We call our group Yakaya, home. The best musicians out of USA and South Africa. From Philadelphia, USA, on drums, George Johnson.
And then it was a great experience to play with Buster Williams also, because he's one of the ones that also embraced me when I came to New York. I could leave a set of drums at Jimmy Garrison's, I leave a set of drums at Buster Williams, and the guys were really bent over backwards to help me create and sustain my career.
How did you meet Buster?
Well, it's a funny thing. I met Buster on a gig, and we were playing, and I didn't realize. They said, "Oh yeah, man, this guy Buster, man, and so and so's on the gig with." And I played a lot of gigs with the Jimmy Merritt, Cedar Walton, Curtis Fuller, and then when Jimmy Merritt wasn't there, they said, "Yeah, Buster's going to be there." So I just really didn't think about it. And then we get to New York, I think it was 7th Avenue South or one of those, and here come Buster Williams on the gig. I'm like, oh man, this is really going to be slamming. And we got to talking, and Buster's from Camden, New Jersey. I was from Woodbury, which is not too far away. I'm talking they're like half an hour away. We're always in Camden. Camden was the big city where the first city, everybody bought a suit in Camden. So we really got along because we were from the same place. And Jimmy Garrison was very friendly. So I stayed with him, lived with him, and I got a chance to meet another great drummer, Roy Haynes. And we lived at 97th and Amsterdam, and McCoy's was right down the street. And we used to go down there, and I got a chance to meet Roy and sit in. And also at McCoy's, I got a chance to meet Art Blakey, another person who mentored me, and I got a chance to sit in with Wynton, Marsalis, Bradford, a lot of configurations that Art had. So that was really a good situation. And the guys were really overly comforting, because maybe everybody had done the same.
did you move to New York City?
Oh, man, that was like after high school, I moved to New York. That was the place to be. It was a very good time so far as what musicians were playing. There's a different language I get a chance to learn. I didn't even know that there was a different language at that period of time. The language I'm talking about is music language. I'm talking about different scales and different chords. Talking about altered scales, altered chords. To explain it faster, these professionals could play one scale over the whole song, 32 bars, never play a dissonant note, and it's creative, fresh, and it's a different way of thinking of things. But after playing so long, you find different passageways and different combinations, 12 notes, but it's the way you use them. And it was very creative at that period of time because they're not using that language anymore unless they hire you in the university. This is, we could call street language. That's why there's a whole different level of sensitivity. Music is nice if you know a whole bunch of scales. You can play a whole bunch of scales, and it's a beautiful thing that you are smart enough to do that. Music on a real level is what can you do on a human level to touch another human being, and that's a very intense, that's a higher level, because I've played with a lot of people, and if the music's on a high level, the audience is spellbound. I played twice with two different groups who had that kind of high level with the music, the chords being correct, the music being correct, the intent is correct, and the people felt the music so much, and it was so much intensity with what we were doing that the people actually, we could call it rejoice. And what I mean by this is they say we never felt music like this before. In one band with the Willie Williams, we played in Germany, and we played a set, and it felt like 2 hours. The people were standing and sitting, nobody ever moved. We found out, it really was 2 hours. Club owner wasn't a problem with the club owner. People were buying drinks and eating food. Promoter says, "Oh, you guys played for 2 hours." I said, "Well, did the club owner complain?" "Oh no, nobody left. They couldn't get in. Nobody could move." But we touched people. And with another artist, Abdullah Ibrahim, another thing, there's compassionate chords. You just don't play stuff and for your own enjoyment, and other people don't feel it. So we were playing a concert, and the soccer players, tough guys and fighters, and with their girlfriends out for the night, they came backstage, and these really big dudes. He said, "I've never sat in a concert, and I've seen everybody." He said, and really tears came out of my eye. I felt really compassion, and I felt humility. And I'm wondering, wow, man, these guys are, he said, man, and I'm next to my girl. I didn't want tears to come out of my eyes. The music was so beautiful, and we were touched. Tears came out of my eyes, tears came out of her eyes. And this is stuff that people can't really write about. But if you're in a concert where people are playing on that high level and you're touched by the music, this is a whole other level of music. That's one of the reasons I'm happy I was in New York at that period of time. To learn from these guys. They're gone now. And we're hoping that it's passed on, but we'll see. We'll see.
So, you played at the first Atlantic City Jazz Festival.
The George Johnson Trio.
Yes, yeah. I was very blessed at that period of time to be playing with McCoy Tyner. And we played at the Bader Airfield in Atlantic City. Great venue. I was really surprised. Ray Charles, Horace Silver, a lot of great artists. Lou Rawls, a lot of great artists, the jazz festivals, a jazz festival with all jazz musicians. And my mom got a chance to come, and I really felt fulfilled because that was one of the times where we traveled all over the world, but we never really played close to New Jersey or close enough that she could come. And I really felt good because all of the sacrifices, they got a chance to see me play on a very high level. And it's not that they don't come out and see me play with my bands and stuff, but this is on an extremely high level. So it was great. And plus it was a Philly band. McCoy, Tyner, Charles Fambro, Philadelphia, Guilherme Franco, Brazil, John Blake, violin, Philadelphia, and Joe Ford, Orange, New Jersey. So it was a very intense band, but it was a tri-state area band, except for Guilherme Franco. And he came from Brazil, played 5 different instruments. These guys were very, very talented. Sacrifices you make. I was living in Williamstown, South Jersey, and I used to make it to New York and make all my gigs with a thumb. I thumbed it from Williamstown to the Turnpike, exit 4. I thumbed it from the Turnpike to New York, whether they were going through the tunnel or George Washington Bridge, and I made it to all my gigs. Never been late, never missed a gig. And so people have excuses. Oh, I don't have a car, I don't have this. You have to have the desire, and the desire will take you through. I can't, but I got to thank my father for that. Every time I used to say I can't, he used to crack me on the knuckles and say that's one of the words you cannot ever say, because that means that you don't want to try. You say you can't, that means you don't want to try. And so I really felt good about that.
Any other good gigs you played in Atlantic City?
Oh man, yeah, that was my first testing grounds besides Philadelphia and clubs in New Jersey, Camden and stuff like that. Atlantic City was kind of like the resort town, and I had a couple bands in there, and I played at the resorts, and I played for Frank Sinatra's birthday, one of the Mayor Wilson Good's inauguration. In Atlantic City, in a lot of the casinos, they had 2 and 3 bands in the beginning, and I was lucky enough to play opposite in resorts to Sam Butera, and it was like a growing situation. What he would do is kind of old school. He would record his music, and he would play like the Italian music and stuff, just the gigolo, all of that stuff, and traditional. So he would record, his CDs and make up T-shirts, okay? And what he would do with that is sell them right off the stage. He would say, George, you gotta hustle, man. You gotta be a hustler, man. You gotta have 2 or 3 hustles, man. And so he promoted that, and I did do that for many years, and it did help. He did 6 months here, and he did 6 months in Vegas. And these are the kind of great experiences that I grew up with in Atlantic City. Plus, Atlantic City is one of the places where you can go to the beach. We're very blessed to have a beach, and listen to the ocean come up and kiss the sand, and listen to the jetties and the water coming off, and you can literally hear, or to me, hear different drum solos with the different sounds of the surf, and it's very beautiful. We listen to it over and over and over again.
So, George, we went through your childhood, your early beginnings on the set, and how you started to play in bands and get more experience, and then meeting the big time and touring with some of the biggest jazz stars, so to say, in the world for many years, and Europe, Africa, America, you name it, you've been around. And then at some point, you moved on from that scene of being a hired gun drummer to create your own career. Would you please explain us a little bit what was your driver for that? How did that happen?
I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Sometimes the small things turn out to be the biggest things. You have to be able to be critiqued and not so much criticized, but critiqued. I went to see a friend, an acquaintance, which is a friend now, Mr. Gene Serena in New York. And we talked for a while. I gave him one of my CDs, and he said, wow, man, I'm really impressed. He said, I want to talk to you about something. We were sitting down, and his favorite snack was salami and cheese. He's sitting there, and he was having wine, and we're talking. He said, look, man, comes a point in everybody's life where they have to step behind the leader and stop being the great side man, because you have to be a great side man before you step on. You have to know what it's like from soup to nuts, from the beginning to the end. He says, after you're a real good side man, you have to step on and claim an identity. I was like, wow. He said, yeah, you have to claim an identity. If you notice guys you work with, they claimed an identity because you work with them because what is popular with them, and most of the people you work with created originals. They didn't play what somebody else wrote. And he said, that's what makes you famous. You have to become and find your own voice in your music. And it has to be you, and it has to be what you're about. Because if it's not true, people won't feel it, and people won't follow. The reason that people come to see certain groups is because they feel the music, although they don't know middle C, they don't know C chord, they don't know E flat minor, but they know what they feel. And if you're playing music that they feel, then that's what really it's all about. So you have to really write the music, and you have to have your own voice and identity. And it really makes a lot of difference. So I also play piano, so I said, well, I'm going to go ahead and start writing some music. And I really was a good career change and path because it really opened up a new door. I got to use all the chords and stuff, and during the pandemic when you're closed in, it really made it like an easy passageway to release a lot. So I was writing a lot of music, playing a lot of piano, orchestrating, and it really got involved to where I had so much music that I wrote, and it really started to sound like me. Different than the standards, different than stuff I played with McCoy, which was fantastic. Different stuff than I played with Abdullah Ibrahim, different stuff that I played with when I played with Wynton, Charles, just different altogether that I didn't know was going to happen. But when you write music and you have your own voice, things begin to happen within that whole realm. And that was a good question. That was a good question because it was a turning point. That's why I have music now. That's why I have originals. And the funniest thing, that's how we met. It's ironic, the guy, special friend who's doing interviewing at the moment is also an artist, and I had some music in Australia, and a guy wasn't doing the right thing with the music, let's say. And it wasn't just me. He was doing the right music, wasn't doing the right thing with anyone's music on the label. And we had correspondence through that company. And make a long story short, Mr. Wolf said, I'm going to leave the company, and if you want, I'm going to start a new company. And if you want, I can get your music and get my music and other people's music that's going with me, and we can start a new company. And great friendships are made that way. If I wouldn't have taken the critiquing Mr. Sereno, I wouldn't have met Mr. Wolf, because then that led me to write music. That led me to put music out there for hire, and to meet somebody like Mr. Wolf. Although he retrieved my music, the company, Wolf Entertainment, really got enormous in 15 years, really got enormous, and just giving people a fair break. He's a very fair gentleman, very fair.
Thanks, George, for the feedback. Really, you and I working together, and we've become friends over the years, and that's what I really appreciate. And then also what I really appreciate, and I'm a kid out of Germany, who, I'm self-taught, I'm out of the streets in Koblenz, and, so for me, you played, as I said before, you played with the superstars in the jazz, rock jazz, fusion jazz scene, okay?
Yeah,
and
thank
so,
you. Appreciate
in that sense, for me, you've always been a very special connection next to our friendship. But then you asked me to play on a couple of tracks, and I really enjoyed that. So I'm really proud that I've actually been able to record on some of your music.
Man, it was great too, man. I think 3 or 4 songs we did or more, and it was all great. It was all great. Great grooves, great solos, and the music went well. The people really enjoyed it. It went over well. You're a great musician, man. I mean, it's fantastic. But see, that's what happens internationally. When you go and look for a needle in the haystack, you find it. Some people do, some people don't. Some people turn. But if you keep going, you find a needle in the haystack and things happen. That's what I mean. If I would have never taken that good word, I would have never started writing, I'm good enough where I am. I don't want to go to a new frontier. You always go somewhere new. You always push on. You always push on. You never know what you'll find. But the beauty of it all is when you find other people, like you, that just want to play music and are on a real high level. So I appreciate the times that you played, man. I really do. I really do. It was great.
Now we had Frank Steffenwiller got one of the recordings, A Grande Gotto.
Yeah.
That's with Frank Steffenwiller.
Yeah. The Big Cat. Oh, that was nice groove. That was nice. I love Frank, man. He's a great musician also, man. Yeah, great guitar player, man.
Okay, Chuck, so what's the plan now? What's the plan for the future? What is your vision? What do you want to do?
Well, the future, I have a lot more music to release with different kind of configurations. And I'd like to eventually find some really expert representation. I'd like to appear in certain places. I like all of the European countries that I've been in. Switzerland at Moods, I played there. That's a very nice place. Lots of places in Germany. Lots of places. Wiesbaden, Düsseldorf, Munich. A lot of different places. It's just beautiful. And the Netherlands, Japan, Spain, Portugal. That band I had with Johnny Griffin, John Hicks, piano, and Steve Curry bass. We played in Spain and Portugal and Moods, and man, it was a killing band. And I stayed in Johnny Griffin's castle, man. It was off the hook. But the Vikings had a big gap underneath the door. It was a little chilly, you know what I'm saying? I can see why they, had that fur. But he had a moat and everything. Oh, I've only seen that on TV, man. I was really blessed to be able to stay there. But these guys have played on such a high level. I was really blessed. And that's just some of the things and some of the places I'm looking forward to go to. But it would be nice to work with someone that I could bring a high-level band. I understand economic crunches and economic things, but like in Italy, there's a couple places, Bologna, a lot of places, man, that we played, and they paid. They paid you. Never said anything. We got paid well. So the thing of it is that there has to be the right places, and there has to be somebody that with the representation that can actually, get the job done with finesse, like they did with McCoy, like they did with Abdullah, all these guys. I mean, I remember lots of respect. I remember beautiful music. I remember people wanting us back. It wasn't a thing of anything else but a highly respected. And this is the whole thing around the real music. When the people are playing the right music, everything goes right. Everything's right. So that's what I'm looking for in the future. There's no lack of talent. Have the band, you just have to pay them. And I'm really strong on that too. There's a thing with me, if you want good anything, fruit, vegetables, car, music, sometimes you have to pay for the music. And I hate to even go into it, but the point of it is that when you appear and the musicians aren't on the same level, the music is not represented in the same way. Okay, nobody ever has a sign out, like they say clap, when they want you to clap, they say, oh, this is so-and-so, but it's not the guys on the record, it's not the sound that you're looking forward to, because these aren't the guys. They don't put that out there. The people come in, they say, oh, he don't sound good, he don't sound right. Check this out. It's a shame to say, but I'm unanimous in this. I'd rather not appear at all if I can't appear on a professional level. It has to be presented on a professional level like everything else is. And it's a shame. It has to be, because now you're telling everyone that it's not what they thought it was. No one ever says how they couldn't afford it. They just bring somebody and they hope that you like it. I'm not like that. You get what you pay for. First of all, I paid a lot to record the music. I paid a lot to have the music on a certain level. I paid a lot so the right kind of musicians with the cutting edge would come and play the music on the high level. So in turn, you have to play. You have to really pay for a high level performance. You would pay for high level tiramisu. You would pay for a high level meal. We really appreciate it if you would pay when we play. The reason I'm saying this is because a lot of people don't realize that. They don't. They don't know the back of it. They're trying to make the musicians pay to play. It's really sad. It's really comical and sad. People don't know. And I'm going to tell you right now that it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. These people play for years to hone their talent. They learn theory, notation. Now you have programs to do it. They also learn how to talk to people who don't want them around to try to get employment. At least when you employ them, at least you should pay them. And this is the whole thing. But I will get back around to one thing. If you ever see me appear live, it will be one of the best shows you've ever experienced, a jazz show in your entire life, because I'm going to have the most cutting edge people on stage in front of your eyes that you have ever seen. Really, the music's going to come alive right in front of you. You'll be mesmerized. And this is no magic. This is all physical things that can happen. There's different pictures that, and different other things I showed you, like my past from the Grand Rex Theater in Paris, in France. These are all big places. They had great big 3 sets of balconies, big theater stage. I mean, it's a whole thing. Not that I wouldn't play in a smaller place. I just want to explain something to you. People, when they get to a certain level, they have done all of the small stuff. They have dotted their I's and crossed their T's. They have played for nothing for a long time to get their talent to a really high level. So, played for free, played for volunteer, played for a little bit of money, played for no money, played and didn't get paid, learned all kinds of things that you need to know, okay? So the only thing left to do is get paid. But I'm really looking forward to presenting some fantastic music and making some fantastic money like everyone else. And it's a thing of jazz It's always appreciated in Europe and Asia, because I think it's maybe primarily in Europe, it's music of freedom since the Second World War. So we're always appreciative. Always appreciative. When we come over to play in Europe, it's serious. And some of the shows you will see on this documentary, you'll see the appreciation at the Montreux Festival, see the appreciation in South Africa. You'll see the appreciation in all of these different places for really high-level jazz. And I'm just really blessed and honored to be able to be a part of such a big thing. And the more we are heard, and the more we appear, a lot of people will see more. It's what you see and what you actually feel from the music. So I'm looking forward to a lot of things, a lot of opportunities.
Great. Well, thank you, George.
Appreciate it. And I always thank you for everything, everybody listening, especially being heard today.
Goodbye. You know, I cherished our time together.